Nick.
Welcome to That Superhero Thing podcast, where we discuss the latest superhero and comic book movies and TV shows. I'm your host, Nick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
Are you alright?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. You?
I'm good, but I was just sitting thinking to myself, it's been obviously we had really good episode of Falcon Winter Soldier this week, and I'm dead excited for the finale next week, but I'm then a little bit sad because we've then got 7 weeks with no MCU, and it's we've had it for months. Because we had WandaVision, we had a week break, but we even had the behind the scenes of WandaVision.
Yeah.
And then we've had 5 weeks of this now, and then we're gonna have nothing for 7 weeks. What are we gonna podcast about? I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know what we're gonna talk about for 7 weeks. We've got a few ideas, haven't we? But I'm starting to panic a little bit. But I'm excited for the finale, but it's a little bit sad at the same time. But yeah. So this week there's been a fair bit of news. It's been one of them weeks where I didn't actually think there'd been that much going on, and then when I sort of sat down to go through everything, there's been quite a bit. So we've got quite a bit to talk about today. We've got news about Green Lantern, Shazam, Black Adam, the Flash movie. We've got some Star Wars news, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle news. That hasn't been talked about in movies for years, so that's quite good. And then we've got some quite a bit of Marvel news as well. We've got Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and some Wolverine news this week, which is or potentially, I say news, let's go rumours. Wolverine rumours this week, which is exciting. So we'll go through the news first, as we always do. Then we'll break down the latest episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, and we'll go through our listeners' thoughts and theories. Should we spoil the end? We've got a voice message. We've had a voice message from somebody. Finally. I've not quite worked out how to incorporate it into the podcast yet, but we'll figure it out and we'll get it in there. But yeah, that's good. So obviously potential spoilers all the way through. Speculation as well, because some of the news we're going through could potentially be slight spoilers for things, even though it's rumours. So if you really don't want to get anything spoiled, just sort of skip through to Falcon and Winter Soldier. If you've already seen the episode, clearly. We will put timestamps in the description, as we always do. So if you don't want to listen to the news and you just want to get straight into the review, you can skip straight to that. Other thing we just say is thank you for everybody who's been listening to the podcast so far. We're amazed at the reception that we've had and how many people are listening to it. It'd help us out massively if you are enjoying the podcast, if you could leave us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes podcasts, or to be fair, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps us out massively in getting noticed, and obviously getting the podcast out to more people. But thank you very much from both me and Anthony for listening and tuning in every week.
It's really humbling.
It is, isn't it? It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Really surprising, because I think we thought when we started the podcast we'd get 5 listeners a week if we were lucky. But
yeah, I don't even think we thought we'd get this far.
I don't know 5. I don't know 5 people. I know you and 4 other people, so I have no idea who's listening to this. But yeah, brilliant. As I said, the reception's been great. So thank you very much. But we'll stop with all the soppy thanks and all that sort of stuff, and we'll crack on with the news. So DC news first. We've had a bit of kind of an announcement, or sort of an inclination from the CEO of Warner Brothers, a guy called Jason Kilar. He did an interview with Recode, and he's pretty much implied that from next year they are going to change their release pattern, shall we call it, back to how it's previously been. So this year, what they'd said is that all the new Warner Brothers releases, so particularly the DC films, are going to be releasing on HBO Max and cinemas where they're open simultaneously. That's going to go back next year to cinema releases first, and then
which
HBO
I'm
Max.
so made up about.
I am as well. I mean, I like the fact that I think when it all got announced, I was a bit like, yeah, we particularly because of COVID and stuff like that, we don't need to go to the cinema and risk catching anything, but
yeah,
I can't, and I kind
at
of
the same
miss
time, it's can you imagine watching Infinity War and Endgame just on the TV and never having that cinematic experience?
Yeah,
it
wouldn't have been. It just wouldn't have been the same. And we've talked about this before, but the
let's
experience.
Be honest, Far From Home, like Spider-Man, I don't think I could sit and watch that on Disney Plus. I think I'd have to.
No Way Home.
Watched it at least once in the cinema. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said Far From Home. I'm just double checking.
Oh.
I'm just double checking.
I mean,
But
he's
you're
never
right.
home, is he?
He's never
So
home. No, never. Aunt May must be getting well fed up. But no, you're right. It's like I think certain films you can get away with it watching it at home on your telly.
yeah.
You've got like a projector in, haven't
I
you?
mean,
So it looks awesome.
yeah. And do you know what? Like, I actually watched Godzilla v Kong the other night.
Yeah.
And as much as I enjoyed it, even on the projector, because I've got a surround sound system and stuff, it's still not the same.
Get you
I
with a
know.
projector and your
I know, I'm
surround sound
fancy, aren't
system.
I?
Very fancy. But yeah, I know
I
what you
saved
mean.
money during COVID and just bought myself some
Well,
speakers
fair play, you got to, haven't you?
that were on sale.
That's it. But you're right. It's not. It's not
But
the
yeah.
same, and it's like
No.
we've talked about before, like the experience of everyone like cheering when we watched Endgame and like, with the portal scene. It's like
Yeah.
just me and you sat on the sofa going, "Way!" when it happens,
And do you know
wouldn't have had
what?
the same effect.
Even though you're essentially going out to go back in to watch a film, like it's the socializing of it as well. You know, me and you aren't the type of friends that would go, "Do you fancy coming over and watching a film?" Because you've got the family life, you know,
Yeah.
we've got things on and stuff like that. But to make that time to go to the cinema to watch something, it's good to kind of have that social aspect too. So
Yeah, no, well, I'm glad it's going back to that way.
Me
You
too.
wait, we'll go to the cinema twice, and we'll be fed up with people kicking the back of our chairs and thinking, "God, I wish you could just watch this at home." But no,
chewing loudly.
for now, yeah. For now, it's good news. So a bit more DC news. Some Green Lantern news. So as we already know, there is a Green Lantern series coming to HBO Max. So series, not movie. So this will be coming straight to HBO. And I think that there's previously been announced like what Green Lanterns are going to be in the movie. But it hadn't been confirmed that Sinestro was going to be in there. But a character breakdown's been released this week. I don't think it's a casting call. I think it's just an announcement. Oh no, it is a casting call. It's a casting call for someone to play Sinestro. So it breaks it down.
I'm there. I'll do it.
It's what?
I said I'm there.
Oh, you're there. Okay, no, yeah, no, it'll be good, won't it? Having Sinestro, yeah. So it's basically said that he's the greatest of all the Green Lanterns. He's akin to a warrior monk, the personification of grace under pressure, and he serves as the strategic commander for the Corps, and all the Lanterns follow his orders without question. So he's clearly going down. They're not going to bring him straight in as a villain. Obviously, in the comics, he started off as a Lantern and then became a Yellow Lantern, but we're getting the it's only been seen once, hasn't it? Potentially his origin story as a villain in the Ryan Reynolds movie, and nobody watched that, so it's not like
I've still never seen it.
Have you not seen it at all? Oh, go watch it.
I heard too many bad things and was like, I'm just not going to bother.
It's not great. I think if you go in knowing how bad it is and maybe a little bit drunk, you might enjoy it. you might enjoy it. But
Okay.
it's worth a watch. Shazam news. Hollywood Reporter is reporting, because that's what they do, clues in the name. They are reporting that Lucy Liu has been cast as Calypso in the movie. So she's going to be the sister of Helen Mirren's character, Hespera. Good cast this now, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I've not seen Lucy Liu in anything for a little while, but she's a big name, so it's definitely getting rounded out of the cast. I'm quite looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Talking about potential casting, shall we say? Ray Fisher has been interviewed again this week. Obviously, Ray Fisher plays Cyborg in Justice League. He'd previously said that he wouldn't work on another Warner Brothers project under Warner Brothers boss Walter Hamada. We won't go into why. We all know why. We know the sort of the crap he had to put up with. However, with the new Flash movie that's being directed by Andy Muschietti, he's been interviewed this week, as I said, and he's basically said that Andy seems to have his head on straight and understand these characters by making it about the relationship more than just a display of superpowers. He said because he was given the chance to now fully develop Cyborg in Zack Snyder's version of Justice League, he said that we were on the same page about it, and it'll be a bummer if there's no way to resolve the issue. So he's I'd like to see him back. I mean, he was supposed to be
extended a hand there, isn't he?
He has, yeah. I think he was like we've said previously. He was one of the best part. I mean, the original Joss Whedon one, he was good in that, but he didn't really get to do anything. He was just like a side character. But in this, they explored his character, and you can see why he was so upset. That he'd had so much cut out. But he was a great character, and after it finished, one of the things that we said, and obviously we thought, was it's sad that we're not going to get to see him now. We're not going to get to see him further explored, because I think we even said in one of the podcasts, there's no way he's coming back. So just the fact that there's a potential chance that he's coming back, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for that.
Me too.
It'll, you know, with DC, I think it's a bit all up in the air at the moment as to where it's going to go. But if they can maybe not make Snyder Cut canon, because I don't think that's going to happen, but if they can just bring back as many aspects of it as possible and continue them, that'd be good. Some other news that's not really DC or Marvel, as we always do. I don't know whether it's comic book movie news or not, but it's Zack Snyder and Dave Bautista, who are obviously big comic book movie stars. Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead trailer got released this week. After a couple of posters have been released. Looks really good. Yeah, it's coming to Netflix on the 21st of May. And it's the last Zack Snyder zombie film. Which was it? Was it Dawn of the Dead he did years ago? That was like a complete...
Don't know, was it?
Yeah, that was a completely different take on zombies. It was like the fast zombies rather than like, the Shaun of the Dead zombies. And in this... Have you seen the trailer? Yeah.
I haven't yet. I haven't watched it, but I've seen pictures from it, like stills and stuff.
It looks it's a dead different take on zombies. They're all they're really smart zombies. Like these zombies have got like their own sort of like community going on, like in Las Vegas, and it's Dave Bautista and his team going into it's like Ocean's 11 basically. They're going in to rob a casino and get all the money out of a vault, and they're gonna have to go up against these zombies. But it looks really interesting. As I said, a different take on zombies.
Something a bit different.
Yeah, it's rather than your standard. I mean, Shaun of the Dead, obviously classic film, but how many times have we seen that movie with like zombies like waddling around and stuff? We've had another trailer for Fast and the Furious came out this week, and people are going to sit there and go, "This is a superhero / comic book movie podcast. Why are we talking about Fast and the Furious?" There's no way Vin Diesel's character doesn't have superpowers. Have you seen the movies? Come on, some of the jumps he does in the
no human can do any of those things.
No, he's definitely been taking super serum. He's 100%. That's going to come out in the very last one. It's going to turn out that he's like a super soldier or something. But it looks quite good, as entertaining as they always do. To be fair, it's got.
Wouldn't it be funny actually if Samuel L. Jackson just turned up and was like,
and just tried to recruit him for the
we want
Avengers?
You to join our team.
I'd take that. Dom Toretto in Phase 5 of the MCU. It turns out he's got superpowers. I'd be all over that. But yeah, that looks boss. Star Wars news. We've had a couple of bits of Star Wars news this week. There was a virtual event took place, a special look inside Disney parks. I think we might have touched on an aspect of it last week when you were talking about the MCU or the Marvel. I can't remember what it's called now. Like Marvel Island or something. But at the end of this event, the chairman of Disney Parks, I did have his name, but I've not written it down. But the guy who's the chairman, he basically pulled out he said, "There's more to come." It was like just like wrapping it up. He said some along the lines of, "There's more to come," and exciting things happening. And he pulled out like a lightsaber hilt, and which obviously didn't have the blade on it, and he just pressed the button and the blade came out fully lit up. Now it's not like a real lightsaber as in like it's gonna cut through doors and all that. So I assume not anyway. That'd be pretty interesting.
We would hope not.
I kind of hope it is. To be fair, I think that'd be quite entertaining. But it's some sort of, not toy is probably the right word, but it's some sort of prop replica. And the rumor is that they're gonna eventually sell them in Disney parks, because they've got the lightsaber. Have you seen this? Like this, I can't remember what it's called now, but there's something you can pay to go into, and you go into like it's called like Savvy's Workshop or something, and you go in and you build your own lightsaber in there, and it's like a proper replica, like lights up and everything like that, and you create your own. So if they could, I would imagine they'll probably just extend that into these now fully retractable ones. But yeah, that sounds brilliant. I want one. I really want one. But I dread to think how much they're going to cost. But I think it's been rumored as well that they might be able to use them for filming the movies instead of like CG, or as additional to just fully CG. So that'd be quite interesting. A bit of other Star Wars news is around, or rumours, should we say, around the Book of Boba Fett. So we know that's going to be coming after Mandalorian Season 2. It was already rumoured that Pedro Pascal would be coming back as the Mandalorian, or Din Djarin. It's now being rumoured that Carl Weathers is going to be back as Greef Karga. Bill Burr is going to be back as Miggs Mayfeld, who was brilliant in both series of The Mandalorian. And Timothy Olyphant is going to be back as Cobb Vanth as well. Weirdly, no mention of Gina Carano coming back as Cara Dune, but we know why that's not happening. I bet it was I bet she was supposed to be in it, and then they've had to decide against that. But that'd be good. I mean, those characters, particularly Miggs Mayfeld, Bill Burr, they're really good in the first two series, so I'm excited to see them back. And then last bit of non-Marvel or DC news, as we mentioned at the start of the podcast, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles big screen reboot has been announced. So it was announced last year that it was actually happening, and it's Seth Rogen's production company, Point Grey Pictures, who are going to be producing the movie, and Seth Rogen himself is going to be really heavily involved in it. Whether he's going to have like any sort of starring role in the movie, I don't think that's been confirmed yet. But he's released it. He's released some character breakdowns for casting for the four turtles. First thing that I took from it is that Leonardo is going to be the leader, because I know in like some of the cartoons, and I think in the original films, it was sort of implied that Raphael might be the leader.
Yeah, I was going to say Raphael was kind of always.
No, in the cartoons it was always Leonardo, wasn't it? But I think it's jumped back and forth. But in my me as a kid, it was always Leonardo was the leader. So I'm quite happy that they're going down that route. I think probably the most interesting thing from it all, when you're looking at the casting or what they want for each to voice each turtle, is they're asking for 13 to 16-year-olds. So they are properly going down the route of it being, teen. I know the clues in the name, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's never been kids who voiced it. I mean, it was like Johnny Knoxville voiced Leonardo in the first Michael Bay one, and he's like 45, probably 50. So sorry if he's like 30. I know he's obviously not in his 30s. He's an older fella, isn't he? But we've never gone.
In his 30s anymore.
They've never sounded like teenagers,
No.
and they've never. I mean, in the Michael Bay ones, they never looked like teenagers. They look like Godzilla, but. They're not teenagers, are they? So
No.
I think it's good. And when you think about how like they had Tom Holland, and that was there was quite a bit of doubt from Sony apparently when they hired Tom Holland to play Spider-Man, because he was a kid, and they'd always thought that we needed to go someone older to play a kid. But he killed it, didn't he? He did really well, and he's probably one of the best Spider-Man we've had. I won't open that debate, but so I think that'd be quite interesting having actual teen. I know they're obviously only voicing it, but I think that'd be quite interesting having teenagers doing it as well. Marvel news this week, there was a training video released of Oscar Isaac training, clearly, for Moon Knight. So he's going to be playing Mark Spector in Moon Knight, and I think he's filming at the moment in Budapest with Ethan Hawke. Whether Budapest is coming into it in any way, shape or form, obviously from like Hawkeye and
Ethan Hawke, you haven't heard that name in a while.
Do you know what? When I was writing this down, I was thinking, bloody hell, what was he last in, Ethan Hawke? It was like The Purge.
It was a while ago, like whatever it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd read that he'd sort of like, he didn't really, he sort of stepped back from acting a little bit.
Kind of semi-retired or something,
yeah. So to have him, I mean, he's always been good in everything he's done, to be fair, or from memory anyway. So it'd be quite interesting to have him in it. But the combat looks like pretty full on. It's like whether it's going to sort of end up being in the movie, but all the stuff that Oscar Isaac's doing, he's got like a knife in it all, and he's just like taking dudes out with a knife, and then at the end he like licks the knife in front of the camera. So it's like proper. Like graphic, the training that he's doing, shall we say?
Interesting.
It is, isn't it? But it's it's Disney Plus, so whether it gets that graphic in the I don't know, Bucky's constantly playing with knives in Falcon Winter Soldier, isn't he? There's been a bit of news kind of regarding What If. Now this sort of relates back to something that I think we both had a theory about previously in a podcast. So there's a poster doing the rounds at the moment for What If. I think it's like in the mall somewhere in the US. And on the poster you've got Peggy Carter as Captain Britain, I assume she's going to be. There's Gamora, Doctor Strange, Eric Killmonger's on there. T'Challa's on it as Star-Lord. I think it's Black Widow on there. There's Thor, who is going to be Party Thor in What If. That's been seen from another piece of like concept art or merch. And then there's the Watcher, and at the bottom of the poster it says Guardians of the Multiverse. So I think, as we'd said previously, that we thought it might be going down the route of this is going to be the introduction to the multiverse rather than it just purely being What If. So it could just literally be a poster and somebody's got the rights to do the posters and sort of had done what they want with it. To be fair, but I think the fact that spoilers for a little bit of news, we might have a bit more confirmation coming up that we're going to find out about we're going to see the multiverse in the MCU sooner than we might have had confirmed. it wouldn't be surprised if we did end up getting the full intro to it in What If, which would be good. We had there was an interview with Tom Hiddleston with Empire magazine, because obviously he's doing all the promo for Loki at the moment, because that's what 9 weeks away. He said in the interview, he didn't want to ruin anything about the show, which is great because he'd get shot by Marvel if he did. But one thing he did say is, he said, think about how the logo in all the trailers keeps changing and restoring, and and amending itself. He said, and he said change in shape, and he said Loki is the quintessential shapeshifter. So it's all about Loki sort of finding his identity. And I think that, like we said last week, this isn't Loki that we know, or Loki that we've finished his arc for. This is like bad Loki still, straight after Avengers.
Yeah, this is first Avengers Loki.
Exactly. Yeah. So it makes sense that it's him trying to figure out who he is. Is he the villain, or is he good? So that'll be interesting. But with the shape-shifting thing as well that he said, there've already been rumours that we're going to get a Lady Loki, we're going to get Kid Loki in there as well. So perhaps that is him just sort of teasing that's the route we're going down. It's just interviews. This when I'm looking at it, Wyatt Russell has done an interview. I don't know who he did it with. I've really tried to figure out who the interview was with, but apparently he's done an interview this week, and obviously regarding Falcon Winter Soldier, and he was asked if he'd ever met Chris Evans. Now, again, we said this is potential spoilers. I don't think it is from the way he words it, but he gave like a waffly answer, but saying like, oh, I think I have. I've never sort of like shaken his hand, but I've been in places where he's been and, acknowledged him and all that sort of stuff. And then he said, you've just got to wait until the end of the series, and then everyone will be like, oh, wow. And it's like, so people are saying, has he just confirmed that Steve Rogers is going to show up at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? But from this episode of Falcon Winter Soldier, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But potentially he's spoiled it. But I think it's just been taken out of context. We mentioned that we talk about this. So Wolverine, there is another rumor going around. So the hashtag show, they believe that there is a Wolverine anthology series in development at Disney Plus, and that it's going to follow Logan going through different points in his history in each series, and the first series will be about him getting involved in the Weapon X program. I'm dead excited for that. I mean, I think we'd mentioned, and I think the opinion of a lot of people seems to be sort of like, leave him for a little bit, Wolverine. Don't sort of try and bring him straight in to the X-Men. Maybe have the X-Men movies focus on the rest of the team who never got any love in the movies, like Cyclops, for instance. But I think doing it this way, they could go down the route of just having him being completely separate from the X-Men movies for now, and then eventually sort of joining the team so that they can go down the route of the original team. But I'm dead excited if we get that. If we get a Wolverine series, I don't know who's gonna do it, who's gonna play him. I don't know whether they're gonna go like down like a younger route or an older route. Could even be multiverse. We could end up with Hugh Jackman back. What would be your opinion if we ended up with Hugh Jackman back?
I mean, I love Hugh Jackman, and I think he was phenomenal as Wolverine. But I do think he's done with it. I think if we did anything, he might come back in a multiverse scenario where he can just pop in and go again, without having massive commitments. But I think it'd be better to have someone new run with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd like to see him back. Opinion. I'd love to see Hugh in the MCU at some point, but I think like maybe in Deadpool 3 is some mention of the multiverse. Maybe that'd be really good. But I do think it's time for somebody else to take it on. Who? I don't know. I know everyone's saying like Tom Hardy. I mean, he's already playing Venom. He's already playing Eddie Brock. But I don't know. I think it's too obvious a choice. Tom Hardy. Does that make sense? It's like it's a bit of a boring choice. A few people are saying Taron Egerton, which I think would be quite interesting to have Taron Egerton. Who do you anyone you think? Do you know what? I'd love to see them as Wolverine.
There was a while ago, and I can't for the life of me remember who it was now. So it can't have been that memorable, to be honest.
Can't have been that good, Anthony. No, clearly not.
But I can't remember. But I think I kind of looked at it and went, yeah, I could see that.
That'd fit. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's a big role for someone to step into, innit? Because I mean, he was the face of comic book movies for a while, because it was only Spider-Man and X-Men happening, really, from a Marvel point of view. So it's definitely big shoes to fill. But that'll be interesting to see whether it ends up happening or not, or whether it's just, you know, it's not true and it's just a rumor that someone's heard. So Doctor Strange news. So Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Kevin Feige, aka Kevin Feige, rhymes with beige. He did an interview with The Undefeated this week, and he confirmed that they are, because it's filming in London at the moment, he confirmed that they are in their final week of filming. He said Lizzie is here, working really hard. She's not really had much of a break, going from WandaVision and then straight into filming Doctor Strange. And he had, people are wondering whether there's a new logo going to be released for the movie, because he always has his hats, doesn't he, with the logos on it. And he had the logo on his hat was the, you know, the window in the Sanctorum, like the weird sort of shape and pattern on the window. It was that, but it was like loads of them in different colours, like overlapping each other. So maybe that implies like the multiverse, because it's different layers or something like that, or I'm proper stretching to try to make sense of that. But yeah, so it's, you know, the fact that that's, after all the delays, that's now nearly wrapping filming. That's obviously really good news. And then last couple of bits of news for this week are both related to Spider-Man No Way Home. So you had a little bit of news you mentioned before. What was it that you'd seen?
Yeah, so it's kind of just been rumored that that Jon Favreau, Happy, is going to be back in the newest Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of mentioned this to you before, but I thought that was going to be a given.
You would. You would think it would be a given.
I didn't think that he wasn't going to be, between the kind of romantic involvement with Aunt May and the mentor role that he was taking over, because that was pushed quite a lot at the end of the last film.
Yeah.
And I think, the first, based on the end of the last film, he's in trouble. Happy's going to be the first person he turns to. So I think I kind of took it as a given that he was going to be in it. So I was quite shocked to see it.
Yeah, I agree, but it's good. I mean, it's good to have some confirmation. But I'm with you. I thought it'd just be. I mean, I saw the news and it was like, oh well, surely we already knew that.
You kind of looked at it and went, well, duh.
I know the news would have been he's not in the film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good to have some confirmation. Another bit of news is regarding Alfred Molina, who is either doing as he's told by Kevin Feige, or he's gonna get shot, because he's revealed quite a lot in an interview with Variety. So he's confirmed that he's going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, which it's been rumored and it was scooped like 6 months ago, maybe. It's been, I mean, we've all known to a degree.
We've all been talking about it for a while.
And Jamie Foxx is apparently going to be back in the movie as well, playing Max Dillon. But there's been loads of room that, even though it wasn't confirmed, we all sort of knew that he was going to be there. And he's now come out and confirmed it. He said something on the lines of, we were all told, everyone involved in the movie's been told that they're not allowed to say anything, but even though with all that secrecy, it's still got out, and it's like the worst kept secret in Hollywood. Now, the really interesting bit of news, which again is something we've always sort of kind of known but not had confirmed. Some of the rumors when he was back were saying like he's not going to be playing Doc Ock. He's going to be playing like a completely different character, and it's just kind of like it's going to be like a Ralph Boner sort of situation. Do you know, the bringing him in, that sort of thing. But he has now confirmed in this interview with the Variety that he said that they're de-aging him for the movie. He said he's got more chins than he had when he filmed 17 years ago, and he's gone grey and he's gone fat and all that sort of stuff. But he said that his character of Otto Octavius picks up immediately after he got killed in the river in Spider-Man 2. So that is, in my opinion, that is confirmation that he is that version of Doc Ock, and we must be getting the multiverse, which is great. I mean, like we said before we start recording, it's only like 7 months away, this movie, and we've not had a trailer. I mean, whether you're going to count the name announcements as a teaser or not, I probably wouldn't. It was just an overblown way of really revealing the name to a degree. I mean, it was exciting, wasn't it? It built up a little bit of hype for the movie, but we've not seen anything. We've not had cast confirmation. We've still got Tom Holland denying that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in the movie in the first place. So to get some sort of confirmation that we are going down the multiverse route, I can only assume that some sort of announcement or teaser or something is coming, because or he's going to get in serious trouble. But it's a big variety. It's a big news outlet. So
yeah,
for them to be reporting it, I can only imagine it's coming soon. And something that we won't go into, but we were talking about it as well. There is I say a leak. I'm doing it like inverted commas with me fingers, air quotes. There's a leak on Reddit that would obviously confirm what he's saying there, but it basically breaks down what is apparently going to happen in the whole movie. It's gaining quite a bit of interest because apparently the guy who's dropped this leak also a couple of days ago announced who the cameo was going to be in this week's Falcon Winter Soldier correctly. So people are now saying if he's got that right, maybe this leak is right. Now we won't go through it because we don't want to spoil a film that's not coming out for 7 months, and it could be a load of bollocks anyway, to be fair. But if you want to find it, you can find it. It's online. comicbookmovie.com's got it. It's all over Twitter as well. So if you want to go and look at it, you can go and look at it and potentially ruin the film for yourself, like I did, and now I've done for Anthony. But I'm sure it won't be right. But yeah, that's us for news. So should we do Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Let's do
Should
it.
we do it?
I'm so excited.
I'm excited to talk about this one as well.
We literally opened and it was just
epic,
bang straight in.
I didn't expect. I think I knew we were going to get into this aspect of it very quickly, but I thought, are we going to get flashbacks?
I still feel like they were pushing on poor him, and honestly, every moment that they were spending time on being poor John Walker, I was getting angrier and angrier, and I was honestly like, I'm going to admit it, I was really angry, and I was just like, just rip his head off. Get rid of him. I know what you mean. He's doing me head in.
I know, but I think that should. I think how much it. I wouldn't say I'm sympathetic to him, but I think they've made him a really good character, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? He's a great character to hate.
There was an undertone of a lot of issues that goes on with the US military.
100%.
And probably military in general. The fact that they're made and they are trained to be that way.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy.
No.
It's not, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think that was the route that they were taking, which I think was phenomenal and is a story that needs to be told, which is why they've done it. But because I already had a dislike for him, it made me angrier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there was one moment. I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it. But there's one moment further into the episode, towards the end, where I was like, do you know what? Maybe he's not that bad a guy. But he, at the end of the day, whether it's his fault, whether it's the US government or the army's fault, the fact is that he's a character that you hate, and you've been sort of taught to hate very well throughout the series. But that just shows how good a character he is, and how good a job Wyatt Russell's done with him. Because I mean, he's absolutely knocked it out of the park with John Walker, Wyatt Russell. But it was a brilliant episode, and just that opening, just like non-stop, so fast-paced. I can't think of the word that I want to use to describe it, but it was just like, it's like no holds barred, was it? It was just like, right, you're going straight in. So we'll break it down a little bit then. So obviously it starts with John running away from killing this flag smasher, and getting away from the situation, and he's having like a proper meltdown.
Do you know what made me laugh about that though?
What?
He was running away, and he's essentially what looks like attempting to hide in some way.
Yeah. Dressed as
in Captain America's outfit. Could you have been more conspicuous if you tried?
He is trying to run away. It's like he's having all these It's because at first I felt, and it was, again, like what we've just said, it does a really good job of making you dislike him, because at first when he's in there, isn't he, and he's having all these flashbacks and he's having a proper meltdown, and it looks like this guy's proper upset with what's happened, and he looks as if he's devastated that he's killed this guy.
Like an immediate PTSD.
Yeah, but he looks like he's regretting what he's done at first, and it's like, I can't believe I've done it, and I've done the wrong thing. And then when Sam and Bucky walk in, he just sort of snaps back to time to go to work, and it's like his face is gone, and he's sitting there, and he says to Sam and Bucky, doesn't he? He says like, he's not bothered, and he's trying to defend it and saying he killed Lamar. I had to do what I had to do. And something he says throughout the episode is, you don't understand what it takes to be Captain America. You don't know what you have to do and all that sort of stuff. And he goes from sort of, being upset with what he's done to now just like, I'm completely in the right.
Completely defending his actions.
Completely in the right, and I've done nothing wrong. But clearly, Bucky and Sam aren't having any of it, and Sam basically says, you need to turn yourself in. They'll probably go light on you because of your record and the fact that you're Captain America, probably. And then he says, give us the shield, and that's when John just sort of like turns, isn't it? And he's like, I get it. You just want to be Captain America. You want to be Captain America. And you want to take this away from me. And then he says, which we'd seen in the teaser trailer that came out in the week, it was the best line. Again, the Dora Milaje, the best line last week with, the jurisdiction line. But when he says, you don't want to do this, and Bucky just looks at him and is like, yeah, we do. And it's like, he's been itching to kick the shit out of this guy for 5 episodes, and now he's got an excuse. And then massive fight kicks off like a minute into the episode, like the big battle of, obviously the big battle will be in the finale, I'm sure, but,
and it was a brilliant fight.
It was amazing, wasn't it? It was really good. I mean, they're getting like really deep into like choreography and stuff like that. We won't do that, but it was just it was back and forth, and I think
it didn't stop.
No, and I think, obviously, I think it started. Sam was getting involved, wasn't he? But it did seem at first like it was down to, Sam couldn't he couldn't hack it. Well,
it's an unfair battle, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, Sam is not a super soldier.
Exactly. So it
doesn't have the same strength.
Yeah. So,
but it was a good show of his, being the Falcon and having the wings as his kind of form
and how he can
advantage.
and how he can use that to take on like a super soldier.
Yeah.
Because at first, like, it's really clever of Disney how they do it, because I think even like the first, we're not going to break down like every hit of the fight, but for like the first 30 seconds of it, when it was kind of like Sam trying to get involved and not being able to do it, and it's all it was like, I think the way that it put it across to me was like, right, this is all going to be down to Bucky. Sam's going to try and help, but it's all going to be down to Bucky. And then when Bucky got knocked out, I was like, oh shit. I mean, he's taken out Bucky. Sam's not a super soldier.
Took some decent hits, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I thought Bucky had tear him apart, to be perfectly honest. And he took him out. And then when it was down to Sam, even then, Sam proper stepped up. And it's like you said, he used what he's got to his advantage, like flying around with the wings and like grappling him and trying to pull the shield off him. To the point where he did. And then again, went really dark when. I think he's like on him, isn't he? And he says, "I'm Captain America," and he rips his wings off, and he goes to kill him. That's how I read that. He full on went to kill Sam, like
and
he did with the Flag Smasher.
You're about to kill an Avenger.
Exactly.
Like, how do you not see at that point that you've gone too far?
That's it, isn't it? Exactly. But I was like, and I knew he wasn't going to kill Sam, because it would have been, you can't kill Falcon. But I was still like, oh my god, he's going to kill him here. And then obviously, Bucky gets up. They manage to get the shield off him. And then it's Sam, innit? Sam takes him out. Even though he's got no wings, he uses... It
was like a proper wrestling move, wasn't it? Because he flies in while Bucky's got hold of him.
With the jetpack.
And the snapping of the arm.
Yeah, because I thought as he broke his arm then, and you see... you've got to realise, it's like, not only is Sam just like knocked out a super soldier, not being a super soldier, but he's got... And I know the power was in the suit, and because he kept using the jetpack on the back, but he's like managed to potentially break... somebody who's just as powerful as Steve Rogers' arm. So he's proper stepped up to it. And then at the end, obviously, Bucky, I think Sam's on the floor and John's completely passed out on the floor, and Bucky just drops the shield next to Sam, doesn't it? Like, I don't want it, and walks away.
Well, do you know what? I didn't see that as that. I saw that as another bit of, if you'd have just had the shield all along, this wouldn't have happened.
Essentially.
Like, a bit of blame in a way.
Yeah. Because he's like
as if he's dropped it to go, just take the fucking shield. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't at the time, but now that you said that, I agree, because I think the next time we see Bucky, he doesn't even say anything, does he? He just walks off. It's Sam talking to him. But the thing that, before we get to that, it like to a degree it like upset me a little bit, was when Sam sat there and he looks devastated and he's like frantically trying to wipe all the blood off the shield, and it's like. You can see how much that shield means to Sam, and I know obviously we find it means a lot to Bucky as well, but it means a lot to this guy, and it's taken a lot for him, which we dig into later in the episode. It's taken a lot for him to give that up and pass it back when Steve gave it to him, physically handed it to him, and this guy John Walker has just completely disgraced the name. And the blood on the shield it's a symbol, isn't it? It's a symbol of you've completely, what have you done to the Captain America name? And he looks devastated. So and then that's it. That's the opening. We haven't even we get the title card at that point, and it's like, shit, that's the opening of the episode. What's this gonna do? And I think the episode, I mean, it's a great episode for the rest of it, but it's a lot slower paced, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we've gone from we've had 4 episodes which have been, they got busier as they went along, but the first 2 were very slow because they were laying the groundwork. And I think the payoff of those first 4 episodes was this first 6 minutes. That was it. That was it, wasn't it? That's all led
definitely.
to that. And then the rest of this episode is spent setting up future Marvel project, in my opinion. But also, it's the rest of the episode is to set up the finale, and it's going to be a great finale. So you get it's Sam. I think Sam's in it's not like a hotel, but where all the internationally displaced people, as we were calling them, were living. He's there, isn't it? And it's all been raided. The GRC have come in. They've arrested everybody for aiding and abetting the flag smashers. And then I think he says something to Torres walks in, doesn't he? And he says to Bucky, Sam's telling Bucky what's happened, the fact that it's been raided and they've arrested everybody. And Torres comes in, he's like, oh, you got a sleeve back on your arm. And Bucky doesn't have a single word in that whole scene. He just walks off. And I think that is like what you said. He's pissed off, isn't he? He's annoyed that he's had to do all this. And Sam should have just kept the shield. And then that's when Torres explains. He says that the GRC, because of what's happened, John Walker's killed somebody in the middle of the square in front of loads of people. He's been shut down. You're being shut down. They don't want any of us involved. They're taking care of it themselves, and they're going to have this vote on whether they're just going to come in and just, take out, not get rid of all the internationally displaced people, but arrest like anybody who is harboring these fugitives. And all the way through, Torres is asking Sam what happened to the wings. And then at the end, when Sam leaves with the shield, he says, what do you want me to do with these wings? And he says, keep them. And that's got to be, I think we mentioned it last week, didn't we?
That's got to be Torres becoming
that's
the next
got to
Falcon,
be Torres. Because in the comics, when Falcon becomes, or when Sam becomes Captain America, Torres becomes Falcon. So it's either a little nod or it's potential setup for.
I think it's a setup.
I think it's a setup as well. We've talked about this for weeks. We've had Nate every week in the ridiculous theories is bringing in who he thinks is going to be in the Young Avengers, and that Nate is who's left us the voice message this week. So we'll go through that in ridiculous theories, and he's given us like a full breakdown as to what he thinks is going to happen with the Young Avengers and who's coming and where they're coming from. I don't think I've listened to it. I don't think he mentions Torres, but I think it's got to be, hasn't it? It's got to be setting that up. So after that, we go to John Walker with it's the military council, is it? Should we say? And he's getting stripped of the title of Captain America. He gets told you're not allowed to represent the US military. You're not allowed to say you're Captain America anymore. He's having all his it's a dishonorable discharge, and all his benefits are being taken away from him. So
did he say dishonorable? Because I thought he said like an honorable discharge because of his past achievements.
No, he said
he I thought it was like you're not going to prison, but you're not getting any of the benefits from.
Yeah, so that's why it's dishonorable. So if it was an honorable discharge, they'd be getting rid of him, but he'd still continue to get all his benefits. That my understanding would be that he'd still continue to get everything. And he said it's only because of your past service and all the things that you've done that you're not going to prison. You're not going to be in front of a court martial, but you're getting a dishonorable discharge retrospective to the beginning of the month, and you're not getting any benefits. So I would assume that means there's no military pension or anything like that.
Yeah, nothing.
You're just getting completely dropped. You're out, you drop, but you're not going to prison. And that's when he kicks off. And again, it's probably a moment when I was a bit not sympathetic to him, but a bit like he's kind of right in what he's saying here. He says, you built me. You built me. Yeah. You told me what to do. I've done everything you've said. I've done everything you've trained me to do. And obviously, that's right. He's stepped over the mark with, by killing this guy. But they alluded to it in the last episode. Some of the things they did in Afghanistan, him and Hoskins, to get those medals were bad things. But they were, but they were awarded for it. And there's no way the military didn't know what they'd done. But that was all behind closed doors. And this is now out. in public, and that's the only difference between it. And now he's just being
Yeah.
completely dropped, and then he walks away, doesn't
It's
he? Go on.
PR in it.
It is.
It's how they look from the outside, and that's the
Yeah,
thing.
and I
If
get
they can
it.
say they've won an award, then yeah, they get the medals. But
Exactly.
if they turn around and said they killed a child to do it, people would be up
Spot on.
in arms, wouldn't
Exactly. And I get, don't get me wrong, I get where they're coming from. I get where the council are coming from, saying we can't have you
they?
killing somebody in the middle of the street. But perhaps that, like you said, perhaps he should have been given an honourable discharge, and it just
But
all been kept shush because he's just done as
what
he was
annoyed
told.
me, what annoyed me though, he said that he killed Hoskins, but
He
I
didn't.
thought it was Carly that did it.
It was bollocks. He said, because he said that
Okay.
he said that to Bucky and Sam. He said,
Because just no one pulled him up on that line, and that it
well,
just
they
annoyed
don't. I
me
don't
because it
think
wasn't
they
him that
don't
did
know.
it.
They don't know. He said it to Sam and Bucky as well, and Bucky at the start, and Bucky says it wasn't him. He didn't kill Lamar. But
Oh,
nobody
okay.
else knows. Because the only people who saw it were Carly and the Flag Smashers and Sam and Bucky, and I assume Sam and Bucky haven't gone and done testified against John Walker. They've just sort of
Yeah, yeah.
kept out of it. But he's still pushing the fact, whether he believes it in his head that that's what happened, or whether he's just trying to cover his arse to a degree. He's pushing the fact that it wasn't.
Yeah.
He killed them, and that's what I did. I retaliated, and he walk when this guy's sort of sitting there saying blah 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 blah. You're lucky to be not be in prison, all that sort of stuff. He just walks away. He's like, I've had enough. I'm not listening to you. I am Captain America. And he just walks off, and then you hear the guy in the background, which I didn't notice in the first time I viewed it. When he's walking out the door, he says, "You need to return the shield. You need to give us back the shield."
Oh yeah, no, I heard that.
Yeah. And then he's outside. So then we cut to John outside the courtroom, should we call it?
Yeah.
Talking to his wife, and he's saying, they don't understand what it takes. He's pushing this, isn't he? You don't understand what it takes to be Captain America. And then we get our cameo. And the minute I saw the shoes coming in, I was like, I don't know who this is, but this is our cameo. This is the big cameo. Not at all what I expected, but dead impressed that this is the cameo we got. So it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld and Veep. And she introduces herself as a couple of times. She introduces herself and goes on about it a little bit, but she is playing Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. And in the comics, so she's a big figure in the comics. So she is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who, in the comics, was a love interest for Nick Fury at one point. And then it turns out that she's actually a Russian sleeper agent for not a company, but a cell called Leviathan. And she ends up calling herself and going by the name of Madam Hydra. So she's obviously she's a big bad. Now something else, whether this is where the story is going, because I don't think we'll see her again in Falcon Winter Soldier now. But
No.
in the comics, she's been Madam Hydra, and then somebody else has been Madam Hydra. So there's been two different Madam Hydras in the comics, and the other Madam Hydra was at one point in charge of Madripoor, like the Power Broker is. So are they going to sort of mix those two characters together? Yeah. And she is potentially the Power Broker. I'm not convinced, because I don't think we're going to see her again, as I said. I think she's gonna have a big future in the MCU. That's the rumor that's going around.
Do you know what? I've never seen Seinfeld, so I didn't. I mean, I've seen Veep, so I should have recognised her, but I didn't.
Oh, didn't you?
So I could tell from the way they introduced her. As soon as I saw the boots, I was like, "This is an introduction to somebody.
Yeah.
This is important." But then it just didn't click for me. So although it was a cameo, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, she's a good she's a good actress. She was in, what was the other thing?
Yeah.
The first, I know she was in Seinfeld and Veep, but the first thing I go to is she's the neighbour in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Have you seen that?
Oh, okay.
She's the next door neighbour. You know, the two like idiots who live next door who are like dead trendy and stuff like that. You've seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So she's the wife there. But yeah, apparently she was supposed to be introduced in Black Widow. So that was the first time we were supposed to see her, and then she was going to be in Falcon Winter Soldier. But because Black Widow was supposed to be released before Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So whether they've left her in there, we don't know. But yeah, she was supposed to be introduced in there. So she's gonna have. I mean, we'll get into it in theories maybe, but she is rumored to have a big future in the MCU, and she's going to set up a lot of things. So I'm really keen to see what they do with her. But in this anyway, she basically says to John, I think you did the right thing. And because of that, you're going to be very valuable to certain people. Who those certain people are, we'll get into in theories. But she says, I'll be in touch. And then she drops the fact, she says the shield doesn't actually belong to the government. So, and she says, I know you don't have it, but it doesn't actually belong to them. So kind of saying, if you find it, you don't have to give it back. You can have the shield. That's how I read that. Don't be giving it back to these idiots. And then we cut very briefly to Carly and the rest of the Flag Smashers. So they are in wherever the place is in Latvia that the internationally displaced people have all been kept, and that's when they find out that everyone's been arrested. There's posters all over the wall, aren't there? Everyone's been arrested for harbouring and abetting fugitives, and then Carly's obviously devastated, and she says, right, that's it. They're not going to stop. We need to stop them. Our movement is now ready, and we need to make them stop, and it's now time. So that's clearly her saying, right, this is it, because we've got Sam getting ready for this, big battle. We know the big battle is going to be John Walker versus Sam, clearly in the finale. But I think it was quite easy to forget in this episode that the Flag Smashers are also like a big part here and a villain in this series. So we've got them to deal with as well, and who they get dealt with by, I don't know. And then we go to Sokovia. And we see Zemo in front of the monument, which he mentioned in the previous episode, didn't he? He said, "But no, none of you have been to the monument." And in the previous, at the start of the episode when it's like previously on Falcon Winter Soldier, there's like a little snippet in there, and he mentions that. So I did wonder how that was going to play into it. But I thought this whole scene, I was like not upset, but the whole scene, I just felt so sorry for Zemo, and I just was like, I really, and I think most people, I've really grown to like his character. And I don't see him really in any way, shape, or form now as a villain. And I know he did bad things in Civil War, but he's not. I think now the fact that, because obviously the Wakandans have taken him. Yeah. I thought, well, they're only saying that he's in prison there, so. But he's not in prison. He's not in prison in Wakanda. They're not taking him to Wakanda. If you listen to what they say. I thought that at first. They say? Let's break down the scene. So we get Zemo saying to Bucky rolls up and he says, "Don't worry, James, I'm not going to kill you." And Bucky's like, "Oh, can you imagine my relief?" It's like as if you could kill me. And that's when he says to Bucky, Carly is not going to stop. Sam's not going to do it. You need to step in here. And you need to kill Carly because that's the only way to stop her and the Flag Smashers. And then that's when Bucky puts the gun to Zemo's head, and that's when I was like, please. And I didn't think it's Disney and it's Bucky, and he's not going to shoot. He's not going to pull a bullet in his brain. Is he on Disney Plus? But I was devastated. I was like, please don't kill Zemo. And Zemo's like not arguing, is he? He kind of smiles at Bucky as if to be like, I know you've got to do this. I'm not going to fight, because he did try and kill himself at the end of Civil War, didn't he? When you think about it. Yeah. And then that's when he pulls the trigger and there's nothing. There's no bullets in the gun. And then the Dora Milaje roll up. Do you reckon, sorry, just before you do anything else, do you reckon that was like just a moment so that he had satisfaction in knowing, look, that it was like those words that he used to turn him into the Winter Soldier was the gun to his head every time. Yeah. And that's the way I saw this. I was like, this is him showing him, this is what you were doing to me every single time. Yeah. And I've now given you that same fear. I like that. I hadn't even thought of that, but I like that. Yeah. Does that make sense? 100%. Yeah. It's like you've had me on the brink of like thinking, of complete lack of control, and now I'm putting you in that same, show you how it feels. No intention to kill you, but I'm going to show you how it feels to have somebody taking away all control from you and just being, completely at somebody else's mercy. Yeah. No, I agree. I like that. So that's when the Dora Milaje roll up at that point. And he said, I thought it was really nice as well when Zemo says, I've crossed myself off your list, because we obviously found out that Zemo was on the list that Bucky had put to sort of make amends with. And he said, I hold no grudges. And that was just, I was like, I love this character's amazing. We
Yeah.
need to see more. So that is when the Dora Milaje, she says to, Io says to Bucky, we're taking him to the raft and he'll live out his days in the raft where he can't hurt
Right.
anybody.
Okay. I thought the raft was a place in
The
Wakanda.
raft is a place, but it's not in Wakanda. So at the end of Civil
Okay.
War, or not at the end of Civil
Yeah.
War, in Civil War after the airport scene, when Cap's team lose to Iron Man's team, apart from Cap and Bucky, they all get locked
Yeah.
up
In that prison.
in that prison.
The one that was underwater.
Yeah, that's the raft.
Right. Okay.
That's the raft.
Oh, that seems dead daft then. Sorry about me.
No, it's not. No, fair. So he's locked in the raft, and probably coming into the theories, who runs the raft?
Madam Hydra, maybe.
Ross, Senator Ross runs the raft from Hulk.
Well, he did the last time we saw.
Yeah,
You don't know what's happened since.
I suppose we've had the blip, haven't we? But last time we saw, he ran the raft. So we'll come back to that in theories. Some people will be sitting there thinking, I know where you're going with this, but this leads into my theory.
Okay.
And then Io says, White Wolf, you should make yourself scarce in Wakanda for the time being. And it's basically like, you've annoyed a lot of people there. You can. It's not that you can never come back, but I probably wouldn't for a little bit. And that's when Bucky asks for a favor, which we clearly see later on. And then the next scene is probably one of the most powerful scenes I've seen on anything in Disney ever, because it's Sam and Isaiah having their conversation, and I was really impressed with this because I think it's been we've mentioned this. The whole racism thing has been alluded to for the whole series. And when I say alluded to, it's been like, it's pretty obvious, but they've not sat there and said it. They've not said it. It's been like,
the words haven't been spoken, but the actions have been loud enough
spot
to
on.
give it.
And I thought that was probably the most upfront they'd be with it, and they aren't. And they've built to it for 5 episodes, and they've just laid it out and said, look, this is an issue. It's been going around for years and it's not fixed yet. And even though things might be getting slightly better or might be seen to be getting slightly better, it's not over, and it's still something that needs to be sorted. So he mentions that the first thing that I thought that stood out to me was he mentions like the Red Tails, which was during one of the wars. It was a team of black fighter pilots, and they helped massively. They were a vital part of this war. And he said even though they sat there and they risked their lives for America, people were still burning crosses on their lawns. And it's like, it's just, they can, these people, like black people, are doing whatever they can to help and taking part and fighting for the country, and there's still dickheads who've just got something against them because they're black. And it's I mean, we aren't black, obviously, but you can't even imagine. And Bucky says it later on, he's like, I can't imagine what you're going through or what you've been through or how it's felt. But I mean, it hits home a lot, and it's just like the fact that, as I said, Disney are just calling it. I mean, it's a Disney show, and they're talking about people burning crosses on people's lawns. It's like, you just didn't think they'd go down that route. And then they go inside, and because they were in Isaiah's backyard, and he shows Sam the letters from his wife. Touches on it briefly and says that none of these letters got to me. She was told I was dead, and when I finally got out of prison, she'd passed away. So I never got to say goodbye to her. And that's when he sort of breaks down what happened. So he explains that he was tested on and given the serum, and there were a bunch of other people who were tested on and given the serum as well, all different variations. The way I took it, I don't think he specifically said it, but I took it as that all these people who were tested on and given these trial versions, they were all black people rather than testing on any white people. That's how I read it. And some of them started dying off straight away. It wasn't working with anybody else, and it was pretty much only Isaiah who got the working version of the formula. And then he tells Sam about how apart from me, everybody else got captured during one of the missions, and they were all being held in a prisoner of war camp. And it just straight away I was like, this is exactly what happened to Steve to a degree. the situation. So Steve's team and Bucky and stuff like that, they all got captured and put in a prisoner of war camp. And Steve went in and Steve rescued them all, like Isaiah went in and rescued them all. And Steve got out and all the prisoners were free, and Steve was turned into a hero and became Captain America. And Isaiah's done the exact same thing, but because he was black, they all got locked up. And it's like, it's just it's ridiculous, isn't it? So it just shows how differently he was treated, and you can see why he's upset. And he says that he got locked up, he got experimented on for 30 years until a nurse took pity on him and declared him dead, and that's how he got out. Sam says, we need to tell people, and he says, I don't want people to know. He says, in my opinion, nothing's changed. They've erased my history like they've been erasing all our history for 500 years, which hit really hard. And then he says they'll never let a black man be Captain America. And then he says, and no self-respecting black man would ever want to be it. And that clearly hits Sam hard, doesn't it? He's like, well, and this is why he didn't want to take. It's probably part of why he didn't want to take the shield in the first place, or he didn't want to take on the role, and it's got him doubting what he wants to do. And then Sam phones Sarah and says, I'm coming home. And then there's like a whole section, and quite a good section of the rest of the episode where it's just nice, isn't it? Like all the fiction that
they finally became co-workers.
They did. It was lovely. It was lovely. So
I was like, little bromance blooming here.
It was good. The whole thing. And
do you know what made me laugh on this bit?
What?
When he fixed the leaking pipe, the one that was letting all the gas go.
Yeah.
And then he just goes, "Why didn't you use your arm?" And he went,
I forgot.
But
it makes him human as well at the same time.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
I loved it. I just thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. So the bits that like stuck out to me were, obviously you find out that Sarah is feeding, helping feed other kids in the neighborhood, like Sam's mum and dad used to, and that's when he says, like, people, my mum did things for everybody, and we should be able to call in some favors, and obviously that's when they get everybody helping with the boat, and then Bucky rolls up, doesn't he, and he starts helping, but he's got the case, he's got the box.
Yeah.
What's in the box? What do you think?
Well, I think it's the what's the metal called?
Vibranium.
Yeah, I think it's a suit made out of that from the Wakandans.
Yeah, I think that. I didn't at the time.
And I think it's going to be I think it's obviously not going to be a Captain America one, but I think it's going to be blue, white, and red, and it's going to be something new for Sam.
I think it's going to be full. I don't think it's going to be like a replica of Steve's uniform, but I think it's going to be a full on. I feel it's going to be a full on Captain America suit. Yeah, but it's going to be like a Sam version, like a Falcon version with potential. Whether it's got the wings or not, because it's not that big a box. But but it's vibranium, so I mean the stuff it could be. I mean,
well, yeah, T'Challa had his whole suit stored in a necklace, didn't he? So
yeah, so it could. So
the
I
wings could
thought of that.
do something.
Yeah. So it could just be like so to give him sort of flexibility and stuff, that it's much more sort of compact.
Well, it could have a bit more of a referral to the eagle as well, because the eagle's the US
Didn't even think
thing.
of that.
So it could be Captain America with wings like an eagle.
Yeah. I like that. I never even crossed my mind that it could be an eagle instead of a falcon. But
honestly, I'm actually surprised at how much good stuff I'm coming out with today.
I'm surprised, yeah.
Seeing as it's still the morning, I wasn't expecting to be this good.
I know. But yeah, so he goes in the box. So we'll find out hopefully.
The one other thing I want to touch on throughout all of that scene, the level of community.
Yes,
in it.
Massively.
He's basically gone, look how much our parents helped out. We know that we're owed a few favours. Yeah. And literally the entire village were out there helping them with different parts of their boat and fixing bits and pieces and doing all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's that other thing of not only about racial difference, but also the high-powered white man just constantly taking things from people, and then the people who have got nothing are giving everything that they have
to each other and
to one another.
I know, yeah.
And that again for me was massively powerful, because it just shows that difference, and it's not just about race and stuff, but it's about money.
Yeah, 100%.
And I know that obviously that comes into the racial difference as well, and we know that is a problem. But I just thought it was so powerful, the fact that it wasn't money that's pulled them together to do it. It's the community. It's everyone getting together and just doing the job.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
love that
Yeah, it was
as
good.
well.
The whole, and I think, and you know, they spent a lot of time on this. I mean, there's multiple scenes which we'll touch on, but they spent a lot of time
Yeah.
around that, didn't they? And fixing the boat, and obviously like Bucky's getting
Yeah.
involved, and there was like little montages of them fixing the boat and everybody helping and stuff, and it's nice to watch. But it is, when you think about it, it's showing how they've all come together and they're all helping each other out.
Yeah.
And it hit hard, the whole thing, even though it was quite light-hearted the way it was all done. It did hit really hard. One other thing I thought was funny as well was the Sam flirting with Sarah and Sarah flirting back with Sam, because not Sam, sorry, with Bucky.
No, not Sam.
Well,
Bucky.
that'd be weird. But yeah,
And Sam being like, "You flirt with my
that was
sister again."
boss. I liked that, because Bucky clearly just knew he was winding him up.
And the kids playing with the shield.
Yeah, that was amazing.
While Bucky was asleep.
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious.
And you could see how happy, when Bucky woke up, you could see how happy he was, and he was like, "This is dead. I'm dead impressed with this."
Well, look at the difference here, because you've gone from Bucky at the very first episode, when his own therapist was saying, "I'm the only one that's called you this week. That is just sad."
Yes.
Like, she literally says that to him.
Yeah.
And then he's now kipping on his mate's sofa while helping them with something that means so much to them.
Exactly.
And there's that family vibe that he's not been around for, you're talking 90 years.
Yeah, exactly. He's been locked in a cryogenic freezer type thing for 90 years, and only comes out
when
to
he
kill
hasn't,
people.
he's been fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's not had it, and and even though he's not lived for the whole 90 years, because he's only comes out, he wasn't frozen for the whole thing, was he? He just
Yeah.
he was frozen, so he wasn't awake and aware for 90 years. It was like Steve, he only woke up for certain parts, but it's like it was taken away from him, wasn't he? All he thought he was there to do, which he touches on later on, is to kill people, and he's just a weapon. But yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed the whole scene, and a little montage of them fixing the boat together, and the fact that Sam hasn't got any powers and Bucky's just like ripping things off with his bare hands and stuff. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
So in amongst all that, we go to a scene with John, and he's with Lamar's family. And this is probably the only, and I think it's how you read it. I think at first I was like, he's just doing the whole trying to justify what he's done, but he gives them closure with his lies. He gives them closure, because he sits and he says, I killed the guy who killed Lamar, and he knows he didn't kill Lamar. Whether he's convinced himself he didn't do it, that this guy did it or not, but I think it's Lamar's mum says that the fact that that the guy who killed Lamar didn't get away with it and got his comeuppance, that would help Lamar rest. And he says, I hope that, and I think John says, I hope that gives you some peace. And as I said, whether he's doing that purely to give them closure, or whether he's just trying to convince himself that that's what's happened, but I think he's gone down the route of,
I think he's convincing himself.
Do you? I don't. I think the thing that made me think he's trying to make them happier was the fact, just at the very end, he says, if you ever need anything, you come to me and you let me know, and I'm always around. I'll always be around to help. And that's what, because he didn't have to do that bit. That last little bit at the end was, look, I am here for you. Because Lamar's mum even says, look, like, he was so proud of you, and he used to tell me every day how proud he was to work alongside Captain America. And I do think, I mean, I read that as he was, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I read that as he was trying to, he was being genuine in that one moment. And it was only the fact that when he walks out and he walks past that cat poster, that he sort of turned back onto, hang on, I'm Captain America sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? But I read that he was trying to do the right thing in that scene. Everyone's going to be sitting listening to this going, you idiot, Nick, he's a bastard. Yeah. But that's how I know he is. I know he is, but that's how I read it. And then we very, very short scene, but very, very important little snippet comes up. It's the only time we see Sharon Carter in the whole episode.
Yeah.
And what this means or not, I don't know. But she's on the phone to, I think, someone who's French. I don't speak French, but I took it as she's speaking to someone who's French. And she basically says, I've got a job for you. and he starts shouting at her, and she says, "Look, I'll give you double this time. Do you want the job or not?" And I think that's who comes in at the end of the episode on the phone. Did you click onto that?
I didn't. However, now it makes sense.
Yeah, because I didn't.
So this is what confused me then, because I thought this was the cameo role.
No. The cameo was Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like, because they said it's someone that you would know. I thought that this was him.
Yeah.
And that was where that was kind of where I then got confused.
Yeah, I think the rumor, it was they said it was somebody who's not been in it. The what they said about the cameo was that it's someone who's not been in the MCU before, but it's a well-known character from the comics.
Okay.
That was it. So that's why I took it. I'm taking it as it was supposed to be Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And then that's after that. That's when we go back to Bucky waking up and seeing Sam's nephews playing with the shield, which we've already touched on. And then that's when we get again more Bucky and Sam, but it's them both training with the shield. And it's kind of, and I do think it was kind of, that whole scene was like, you was trying to say.
Well, I still remember seeing the trailer.
Yeah, it was in the trailer, wasn't it? Yeah.
And we were like, are they going to be fighting over who gets the shield?
Yeah.
And now look at it, and it's totally different vibe.
Yeah. But I think it was still trying to, the fact that the shield kept going back and forth between the two of them. We know it's going to be Sam. And we know now, but we knew anyway it was going to be Sam. But I feel like that was the show trying to be like, who's having it? Who's getting it? Who's taking this shield? Is it Sam or is it Bucky? And Sam says that the legacy of that shield is complicated, and then that's when Bucky, quite rightly says, and I think says it a lot from a lot of people potentially viewing the show as well. He says, "Me and Steve didn't understand how it'd feel to be given that shield as a black man, and we'll never understand. We'll never understand how it feels. We couldn't possibly understand, and I'm sorry for pushing it on you and basically giving you such a hard time for not making a decision that you want it." And that's him. As I said, it's him saying, I was completely wrong. I I understand that it's complicated for you. But he said that at the end of the day, it means a lot to him. It was like the only family he's got left, the shield, which was a bit weird, but I get what he meant. And he said he's trying to, he's got Steve's book and he's trying to get through the book because Steve used the book and it worked for him. And then that's when Sam says Steve is gone, which is kind of like the first confirmation that's, they don't say he's dead, but Steve's gone. Now, whether he's dead or whether he's gone back to a different
timeline, they just mean the Steve that we knew.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to read it as he's dead, but I feel like Disney aren't saying he's dead because they don't want to confirm that. Whether Chris Evans ever comes back,
now
I think it's leaving it open.
Well, I was going to say, I think now, because it is so big, whereas before, from what we found out, a lot of stuff that they've done is flukes and looking back at stuff and going, where can we fit this in from and where can it be taken from and all that kind of stuff. Whereas now they go, this is much bigger. If we can leave doors open where we can, we should, just in case.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and I think that's what they're doing.
Might be why.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And then he says, and so Sam says, you can't let other people tell you who you are. You need to do the work and you need to get through that book. And he's saying, don't go through those people in that book to make yourself feel better for helping them out. He says you need to go through that book and make them feel better. And basically that might feel crap for you and be horrible to do, but that's what you need to do to make amends. And he says there must be one person in that book who needs closure and you can give them closure. And I would imagine in the finale, we're going to see Sam go back to the guy who took him to the restaurant and whose son he killed. Yeah. Because he's gonna have to, isn't it? But that's clearly what it was leading towards. And then that's when we see the fact that they are mates now, isn't he? It's like Bucky says we're partners, and Sam's like, well, we're co-workers, and the fact that Bucky said we're partners, because I think at the start of what part of the first episode or the second episode maybe, we get Bucky saying that Sam and him aren't partners, because I think Sam says we're partners in this, and Bucky's not having any of it. It's like I don't because he didn't like him, did he, at the start of the series, really? No. But the fact that Bucky's now like we're partners, and then we get another again hint that what's happened to Steve. He said we have a mutual. I think he says we have a mutual friend, and Sam says who's now gone. So again, it's sort of potentially confirm
Yeah.
that he's dead. And then there's another scene. So Sam's talking, and this is kind of when Sam's deciding whether he's going to take on the mantle of Cap or not. And it's Sam and Sarah, and the boat's all fixed. Everyone's helped, and the boat's now up and running, and they're ready to sell it. And the only thing to do is paint over. I'm doing the painting motion with my hand. No one can see because I'm on a podcast. But I'm doing the painting motion. And he's going to paint over his mum and dad's names. And that's when Sarah stops him and says, "We can't sell the boat." And obviously they have a conversation there, and that's when Sarah says, "Don't let what Isaiah said make your decision as to whether you want to be Captain America or not." And that's pretty much when Sam says, "Well, I'm not. Things have changed slightly, and I want to step up, and I want to keep fighting for what's right." And that's basically him, in my opinion, saying that Isaiah didn't think there'd ever be a black Captain America. Whether it's right or not to take that role, I'm going to do it and prove that there can be a black Captain America. That's how I'm going to take it. I'm going to fight anybody who doesn't think I should be or we can be. I'm going to fight it,
Yeah.
And I'm going to prove him wrong, which is
Well,
stepping up, isn't he?
I'm going to get deep here again as well.
Go on.
And I think it's the whole, the history of the boat is what did it for him.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like they were going to paint over it. He'd never wanted to anyway. And it was Sarah that was like, "We need to sell it. We need to do this. We need to do that." And then she goes, "Actually, no, I can't." And that, I think that was like a signal to him of, we can't erase the history, but what I can do is change what we do next.
Yeah.
And I think that's why that was the turning point for him to go, "Okay, let's do this."
That was lovely, that, Anthony. That was very deep.
Thanks.
Very well thought
Thanks.
out. I'm glad I've got you on the podcast with me, because I wouldn't know that. I'd have just been like, you put that across much better than I ever could have. That was brilliant. I like that. Because I was trying to write it out and I was like, I don't know how to say this, but yeah, perfect. Well done, Anthony. Thank you. And that's when we get another montage. We've had like 3 montages in the episode, or this is the 3rd one anyway. It's very 80s, isn't it? Did you get that? Do you know,
it was,
something that happened?
We were just missing the classic music. That was all in each one.
Well, we've got to fix this. But something we didn't mention previously. You know when when Bucky woke up and Sam's nephews were playing with the shield, and then he gets up out of bed and starts walking towards the boat. There's just this shot for like 5 to 10 seconds, and it's like dead slow motion with the sun coming up behind Bucky, and he's just walking towards the boat with proper. It wasn't 80s music, but like the Falcon Winter Soldier theme tune playing, and it just looked like something from Rocky. It was just like, this is proper 80s. It was, what's that song from Top Gun? Take My Breath Away. I was just thinking that should be playing in the background right now, because it just suited it so well. So anyway, we get onto the training montage, which is very, very Rocky, and it's Sam training to be as obviously as good as he can be, to be as hard as he can, really, to be the next Cap. The only thing it was missing was either Eye of the Tiger or Hearts on Fire. But what we've done is I've done it. I've put it. We'll put it on Facebook later. Should we put it on Facebook? The video. Did you watch it? The video I sent to you.
Did I?
It took me lots of time. It didn't really. It took me about 10 seconds. But no, I did the training. I've taken the training montage and put the Rocky music over it. I thought it was funny. Nobody else did, but I thought it was.
I'm really sorry.
It's all right.
I don't think I did watch it. I'm really sorry.
Terrible.
Oh, it was the one you sent me last night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was busy.
But yeah, I'll put it on the Facebook group, and everyone will sit there and go, "Nick, that's not funny. Stop doing shit like this." And I'll stop then.
No, you won't.
I won't.
You'll never stop.
I'll keep doing it because I think it's funny. It amuses me, so I'll just carry on doing it. So he's
the Zemo dancing was funny enough.
I like the Zemo one. But yeah, so he does his training, and that's when I'm still not convinced he won't go down the serum route, but that's the first time watching the whole series, even though he's stood his ground against super soldiers and John Walker and stuff. That's the first time that I'm now not convinced that he'll be going down the super serum route at all. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he never gets super serum.
I don't think he will,
because he's got I think the wings and the jetpack are his, and his skill using them are his super serum. That's his ability, and he's not got super strength.
And that's why I think he'll get it in the vibranium suit.
Yes. Yeah, because it doesn't have to be like a big chunky thing like Iron Man, does it? It's like, Black Panther's suit's all fully made out of vibranium. It's just the like thin layers of it. So yeah, I agree. But the whole thing, I was absolutely buzzing when he was doing all like the jumps and stuff like that. And when I sort of came to the realization that we're not even going to need a super serum for Sam here, he's just going to be able to take on. It'll be tough, like, but he's going to be able to take on bad guys, villains, John Walker, Carly, without any of that, because he's just worked his arse off to be it, and he's now accepting the role of Captain America. I was so happy with it at the end of that little segment. So after we see that, we go to Carly, which again we haven't really seen much of her, and that's when Batroc rolls up, who I assume is the guy who was on the phone talking to Sharon. So
yeah,
Sharon's bad then, isn't she? Whether she's the power broker or not, I'm not convinced, but she sent Batroc there to help Carly. That's how I read that. And
or is there a bigger picture that we're not seeing yet?
Well, the thing is though, I thought that at first, but when like him and Carly are talking, I mean, he gives her a box, and I don't know what it was. It looked like bombs in the box, or like some sort of explosives in the box. But he says to her, "I'm not interested in your movement." I couldn't give a shit whether he basically doesn't care, does he? Whether people or these internationally displaced people get to stay at their homes or whatever. He says, "I just want to kill Falcon. I just want to kill the Falcon." And it's like, surely Sharon knew that going in, that he'd want to kill Falcon. See, I get the impression that the first mission that he did at the start of the series, when Sam took him down, that's what the reason he was pissed off and shouting at Sharon on the phone was because he'd done that for Sharon and ended up getting beat by the Falcon. So she was in on that.
But what have they been saying all the way through the episode?
Don't know.
They've been saying that they're in hiding now. They know Carly, and they know that she's gonna go like really kind of below the radar kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're gonna find it hard to find her. However,
she knows
what he said in that, he doesn't give a shit. He'll barge in. He will make noise and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's Sharon's way of getting them to find out where they are.
Potentially.
Because something big and bolshy is happening.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe.
Whether it's like a key to get them to find her.
Mm.
So this is what I mean about a bigger picture. I don't know whether it is her and she's turned, or whether this is like a twist to make it look like she's turned, and in fact she's doing something that looks dangerous but will in the long run help.
I think she's bad.
Do you get what I mean?
I get what you mean. I just think she's bad, because I think it makes sense as well, because you think about it, it's like, I think someone on Twitter put this, and I won't put it as bluntly as they put it on Twitter, but they basically said like she was Steve's love interest at the end of the day. She was, I know they'd never start like officially went out or anything, but she was Steve's love interest. She risked her job and her career for Steve. Steve then disappeared for 5 years and got blipped. Oh no, didn't get blipped, but the blip happened. I don't get the impression, that she got blipped. I think she was around for the whole thing, which is how she's built up all this money and stuff.
No, apparently she's on the blip list.
And what blip list?
Someone's told me that there's like an official blip list of who went.
Really?
And apparently she's on there.
No, but
so someone's
but the thing
whoever
is,
I can't even remember who spoke to me, but whoever said it said that's why they're confused as to how she's managed to obtain so much stuff in 6 months.
But just because,
with all the treasures and stuff.
I'm not convinced she did, and I think you might find that if she's on, if you got to think like Scott Lang was on the blip list. Scott was, and he didn't get blipped. He just went missing. So I'm wondering whether
he was a very different case, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you might just find that she's gone missing. Nobody knows where she is, and that's why she's on the. She could be on the presumed blip list.
Let us know. Tweet, right?
If anybody knows,
if anybody knows,
yeah, let us know. But either way, she's done. She's stuck her neck out for Cap. For Steve, and then.
Only for him to go back with her aunt.
And he's run off with her aunt and just left her. Someone on Twitter put he's ran off and started smashing her aunt.
With her aunt.
Yeah, smashing her aunt is what they put on Twitter, which I thought was quite a very blunt way of putting it. But classy. But I agree. It could completely. I mean, maybe she's not, but I think the thing that makes me think it probably is the fact that Batroc wants to kill Falcon. And
That's the thing. There's motives
yeah,
either way, isn't
there are.
there?
Yeah, there are. At the end of that scene anyway, Carly presses a button and all these Flag Smasher supporters are there in the park, and there's
Yeah.
hundreds of them.
That was scary. That
Yeah,
one.
it was mental. Now they're not all super soldiers clearly, but there's a lot of people who are going to cause a lot of havoc.
Yeah.
And then we go to Sam, and Torres phones him. And he says that he's got like on the system like all the different pings from all the Flag Smasher app thing, when things have happened with the Flag Smashers, and they're all over Europe because that's where they've been, and now they've had one in New York, which is right next to where the GRC vote's taking place. I think he says it could be like a VPN or something along those lines, but he just wants to let him know. And then that's when Sam says, don't worry, I'll take it from here. And it's like that's him stepping up. So we jump to the GRC vote, and they're pretty much just saying that why are we even having a vote? I've got loads of soldiers. I can have everybody arrested straight away, and we can put them all. Sounds like they're gonna put them in like camps or something, doesn't it? Because the woman's like, you can't just herd them all together. And that's when you see that the two of the security guards who are supposed to be looking after the GRC council, you saw them both in the park. Well, you saw one of them in the park, and he says one word to the other one, which is, it's kind of like Hail Hydra, isn't it? I thought that it was very Hail Hydra. And then all the lights go out on the flag. I think it's like a Flag Smashers logo appears on the screen, and that's clearly that it's all kicking off. And then we jump back to Sam, and it's Sam opening the box and taking a big deep breath because he's seen what's in the box, and he's getting ready. Which is why I think it's a suit. I think it's a suit. My other thing that I thought it could be, particularly when Bucky first dropped it off, was that it could have been, I think I mentioned last week, it could have been one of the flowers from Wakanda. To give Sam the super serum, but the two things that the fact that he did all that training, if he had the super serum, he probably wouldn't bother. But the other thing is that I think if he was going to use super serum, he wouldn't use it 2 minutes before he leaves the house to go and Okay. It's like, oh shit, I forgot to put this in. I'll just run quick. But yeah, then that's and I thought we'd get a glimpse of what was in the box. I thought if this is the suit, we'll get a really
I think the
glimpse.
next time we'll see him, he'll have it
on.
on.
I do. I think it'll just be him.
I think it'll be like an unveiling kind of thing.
I agree. I think it'll just be him straight in it. And then we get our first post-credit scene of Falcon Winter Soldier, first one of the series. So it starts off, which I thought was very reminiscent of Iron Man, with him hammering. It's just all you hear is the hammering noise, don't you? Which clearly is not Iron Man, but the whole scene is just him. It's John Walker making his own version of the shield. Clearly, it's not vibranium, so I would guess that it's just going to get ripped apart by the vibranium shield. But it's him making it, and clearly getting ready to go in. Whether he's doing it so that he can go and take on Sam, or whether his idea is just, I am Captain America, I need to go and stop these Flag Smashers. I think it's probably the latter. He thinks he needs to just carry on being Captain America.
So I think, and this forms part of my theory.
Go on. Well, we're into theories. We're into theories. Anyway. Let's go straight into theories. You've got a theory. You didn't have one last week.
I didn't have one last week, so I'm quite excited about this one.
Let's go theories.
So I think it's gonna end with a massive 3-way battle, potentially 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think at this point, because we've had big fights all the way through, and it's kind of the question of how do you top that? And I think the only way to top that is to have a fight where it's going to be initially Sam and Bucky going in to get the Flag Smashers.
Yeah.
I then think that John Walker is going to turn up to fight the Flag Smashers, and it becomes kind of a 3-way battle where they're all fighting each other.
Yeah, because it's like John will come in and start taking out civilians.
Yeah, I then think the Power Broker is going to turn up with their men.
Do you
whoever the Power Broker ends up being.
I'm not convinced we'll see Power Broker, but I like that.
Are you not?
No, I think it's going to be left in the dark.
I think that whether the Power Broker is there or whether it's just
their men.
Henchmen.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
I think they're going to turn up. So I think it's going to be a massive battle across all 4.
Yeah.
And then I think that Isaiah's going to turn up, and together with Sam, they're going to beat John Walker.
That'd be so good.
That's my theory. That's how I think it's going to end.
Yeah.
Because we've been building up to this whole thing, and Isaiah's been in the episodes all the way through, and I think he needs one last bit of redemption before he can go back into the shadows and just go, I'm done now.
Imagine if it was. I'm dead hyped for this now. I'm not robbing your theory, but imagine if John got the better of Sam.
Well, that's where I think it's going to go.
Yeah, because
and you're going to think he's like the way he did with Bucky.
Yeah, and Sam's not
when
got
Bucky
the shield,
jumped
and then
in.
Sam's not got the shield, and all of a sudden
And Isaiah
shield
just
comes
flings it
flying
from
out
the
of nowhere,
side.
and it's Isaiah
Yeah.
with the shield. Oh, that would be
Yeah.
so good. It won't happen
That's
because
the
it's
kind of
so
thing
good.
I reckon it's going to go.
That'd be so good though. I'd be buzzing if that happened. If Isaiah came in and was like, "I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight."
I think it's a realistic theory as well. I don't think it's a ridiculous one.
No, I think that'd be absolutely amazing. I just wonder if it'd take away from Sam having to be rescued.
It might take away from Sam, but
it'd be brilliant.
But at the same time, it's not just about Sam, is it?
No.
And this is the thing. As much as it is about Sam taking on the shield, it's been about you know, black people being able to take up that mantle of being a representative. And because they've been pushed down so much, they haven't been able to. And then you bring back a man who has been imprisoned for years and years and been put down for being black, now standing out and being the saviour of the day. Like, I just think that would be a really powerful image. And then you've got two black men working side by side now, playing the Captain America role in that moment, and I just think it'd be amazing.
That would be absolutely brilliant. I'll be devastated now if that doesn't happen. That is absolutely
If
amazing.
not, the writers can give me a call and I will be there anytime to help out.
You can write season 2 of Falcon Winter Soldier. Okay, brilliant. So, other that's what I want now. I just want that to be it. So we've got a couple of like bits and pieces that have been sent in by listeners this week. We've not actually got that many theories. We've got quite a lot of, because I think we've said in the past, like, doesn't have to just be theories. Send us thoughts and questions, and we've got quite a few like thoughts, like opinions of and ideas from people. The first one, I'm trying to load it up on my iPad as we speak. This is how good and prepared we are. I'm trying to load it up. So as we mentioned at the start, we have had our first voice message. I'm buzzing. I might even put like little celebration music over the podcast. I won't. We'll get sued. So we've had our first message. So the first voice message that we've had with like a theory is from Nate from Geeky Nate YouTube channel. We've mentioned Nate in the past. Nate we haven't read the comics. We've got a bit of an idea as to what has happened in the comics in the past. In the MCU, or not in the MCU, in the Marvel comics universe, shall we call it? But we've not got that great knowledge. We are here, obviously, just to sort of comment and give our opinions and ideas as to comic book related movies and TV shows. However, Nate he's brilliant. He always helps out. He basically gives me like the 411 on what's happened comic book related in every episode.
He gives you your own correction corner, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Basically, when I'm sat there and I've written out the notes and I'm like, I've got good notes here, and then he'll send me something and I'll be like, that's a load of bollocks. That's all completely wrong. And Nate's completely told me what it should be. No,
that's me day to day.
He's always getting involved. So thank you very much, Nate, for sending over our first voice message. So before I play it, just now that someone's done it, everybody can do it. So if you go to either the website, thatsuperherothing.com, if you go to the contact page on there is a link to how you can leave us a voice message. Again, let us know your thoughts, theories, any questions you've got for us. And just like, hopefully I'm going to be able to do with Nate's voice message, include it in the show. But Nate has given us a breakdown as to what he thinks is going to be, or is his theory around the Young Avengers. So let's listen to Nate's theory in here.
Okay, I have a minute to say this. So, Young Avengers theory, Wiccan and Speed in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that's where they'll become physical. Patriot has already made his appearance in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think by the end of the show, he will have his physical form. Miss America is coming in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Kid Loki will be in the post-credit scene of Loki, but then have himself fully established in Thor: Love and Thunder. Cassie Lang is going to have her debut in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Hawkeye is obviously going to be in Hawkeye. Then we're going to get Hulkling and Marvel Boy in Secret Invasion and Captain Marvel 2. And then I'm adamant Quantumania and Fantastic Four are both going to have Kang the Conqueror. There's a possibility at the end of Fantastic Four that we get Young Vision, aka Nathaniel Richards. Anyway, let me know what you think about this.
What do you think of that then?
I mean, it was a lot of info in a very
It was a
quick
lot.
amount
It
of
was a
time.
lot of info, wasn't it? No, but it's
But
good. There's a
yeah,
lot.
and like I was just gonna say, like it all sounds legit.
It does, doesn't it? It all
Yeah,
makes sense. I'm not 100%. There's a lot of young Avengers there. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I think I'm not sure whether. I think Nate's absolutely spot on, or could potentially be spot on with
yeah,
the fact that all these different shows are going to introduce all these young Avengers.
yeah,
Like, I mean, he didn't even mention Torres because he's not.
yeah,
I don't think he'd seen this episode at the time when he sent them voice message over. But there's a lot of young Avengers there, and I think that they could potentially be introduced in that way. I like the theory, but
yeah.
I would probably guess that if we're going to get a Young Avengers movie or TV series, we'll probably get a few of them first, and then
Yeah.
more start to get to come into it.
I mean, to be fair, don't forget that a lot of this stuff that he was talking about coming up, that's between now and kind of the end of 2023, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
there's
even
loads
that's
out.
still like 2 years.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just don't think like overloading it too much would be the best idea. So
yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
I think it'll.
We'll see.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I think it'll lay the. I
good.
think it'll lay the groundwork. Yeah, it's good
Yeah.
though. Thank you very much, Nate, for giving us our first.
Thanks,
our
Nate.
Our first voice message. It was brilliant. So another theory we had was on from somebody on Twitter. Twitter name is Keeper of the Sacred Flame. That is such a cool Twitter name. It's better than mine.
That isn't it?
It's boss, isn't it? Here. Their theory was, again, before this episode, and their theory was that Sam and Bucky will become fugitives again for attacking the new Cap, because Marvel are going quite heavily into the racism aspect. Clearly, it's not. I don't think they're going to end up now being fugitives because of where it went. I think I completely see where the theory was, but absolutely spot on with regards to pushing more on the racism aspect. Absolutely nailed it there. They did, and probably more than, as we said, anybody thought they'd go into, and more blunt than we thought anyone thought they'd go into. And then we've got some thoughts. Let's call it thoughts. We won't do a new segment called thoughts or ridiculous thoughts because that's not very nice. But we've got some thoughts. So we had Paul Scott on Twitter who sent us. It wasn't like a theory, or it was more of a thought. He basically said, imagine. I've not got it. I've been messaged Paul this morning to try and get it sent over. For some reason, it's been deleted from my Twitter, but it was very good, and I can remember most of it. So he said, imagine if there was a TV series or a movie where there was a character and they'd like previously worked for the government in some sort of role, like a not a superhero role, but like James Bond type thing, like an agent sort of role, and then that person was retired, and then what happened was, loads of people turned up and they all had superpowers, and they started getting too out of control with the superpowers and destroying things and all that sort of stuff. And then this guy had to come out of retirement and stop them and do whatever it took to get these superheroes and shut them down. It's quite similar to like the Boys TV show, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he said if that sort of thing came out, that main character would be seen to be the hero of that TV series or something.
Yeah.
And he said that's just Zemo. That's pretty much what Zemo's done, whereas he's been construed as being the villain, but you can kind of grasp how people are seeing him as not being a villain and potentially doing something right. And it's what we've said, isn't it? It's like they're clearly trying to. I think he was quite a sympathetic villain anyway in Civil War, but they are now trying to put him across as clearly as not being that bad a guy, which
it's just changing the lines from black and white to a grey, isn't it?
Exactly, which I think is where most people are in this series, to be fair. Carly, John Walker, a real push. I know no one likes him, but I agree, and I don't like him either, but I think they're trying to blur the lines a little bit there with him, and Bucky as well to a degree. But
to be fair, when you said that as well, the first thought I had was, if anyone can do it, John Wick could.
John Wick, yeah. John Wick.
Putting the superheroes back in the place.
I've only ever seen. Yeah, that would be boss, wouldn't it? They should just do that. John Wick 5 or whatever we're up to.
Come on, Keanu.
Superheroes. Yeah, I'd be up for that. We also had some thoughts from Stephanie on Twitter. Before I say Stephanie's thoughts, thank you, Stephanie. She's like a massive supporter of us on Twitter with the podcast. She always retweets all our stuff. Yeah, she always bigs us up and everything like that. So thank you very much, Stephanie, for always getting involved and for bigging us up massively on on Twitter and on social media. We genuinely, sounds really cheesy, but we couldn't carry, we couldn't do it in getting the amount of listeners we are without the support we've got from the listeners that we have. So we really appreciate it. But Stephanie said, I have no more theories. I just want to say about this episode. One, Bucky only really smiles around pretty girls and kids, which is absolutely spot on. Two, Sam trusts Bucky like Steve trusted Bucky, which is good.
Yeah.
Correct. Like we said, we've gone from them being like they did not like each other. These two, they had a mutual respect for each other, but they didn't like each other. And I thought from the start, I think I might have mentioned it in one of the previous episodes, I didn't want them to be friends because I liked the banter and I liked the fact that they didn't like each other. But now that they're there, I do like it, and I don't think the banter has to completely go at all.
No.
And then she also said, kind of a theory, I suppose. She says, number 3, I don't think Bucky had a nightmare sleeping on that couch. It's probably the best sleep that he's had. And then she went on to say that it's like all he's ever wanted was to be a husband, a father, and have a family. I'm not crying. It's very. You and Stephanie have sorted this episode out with all like your deep theories and stuff. But I agree, because when Sam says he's still having the nightmares, he kind of smiles when he says, "Yeah, I'm still having them every night." And I do wonder whether it was like, well, I didn't actually have a nightmare last night sleeping on the sofa because I was here, and he woke up happy. Whereas, like you said in the first couple of episodes, he woke up, or he wasn't hardly sleeping, and he woke up like in panics and sweats and all that sort of stuff, didn't he? Whereas he just sort of like got nicely woken up by the kids playing. So you have got to wonder whether he didn't have a nightmare at all. But thank you very much, Stephanie, for getting in touch again. And then my theory. So I had one ridiculous theory, but I had this prior to watching the episode. So my theory, which I kind of mentioned, was that that Sam would get the flower from Wakanda, and that would end up giving him the super serum. And when the box first rolled up, I thought that's what's in that box. I was just adamant. I was like, that's what's in the box. It's him getting super serum. And one thing I thought possibly tied, I don't think any of this is right, this is why this is my ridiculous theory, but one thought I had was, because with Wyatt Russell saying, watch out for Steve Rogers in the series, I did wonder whether when T'Challa took the flower to get his Black Panther powers back, he went and saw his dad. And he basically saw him in the afterlife, didn't he?
Yeah.
And when Killmonger got the powers, he saw his dad in the afterlife. And I thought maybe, as well as maybe Sam, if he got the powers, seeing his mum and dad in the afterlife, maybe he'd also see Steve.
Maybe.
And that would be where Steve came into it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right now, but that was my ridiculous theory. My not ridiculous theory comes back to the fact that Madam Hydra's rolled up and that she's saying there's certain people who would be interested, who would be really, I think she said, what did she say? She said there's certain people would want your power or something like that, or be interested in working with you, to John. And then the fact that Zemo gets taken to the raft, and that's what Ross runs. Well, what last time we saw it, Senator Ross was in charge of the raft.
Yeah.
In the comics, one iteration of the comics, in my understanding anyway, I haven't checked this with Nate, I should have, but my understanding is that Senator Ross is one of the people who puts together the team called the Thunderbolts, which is kind of like the Suicide Squad. So it's a group of ex-supervillains,
miscreants,
miscreants, anti-heroes who are coming together to form like a team of Avengers, but they're not Avengers. It's like Suicide Squad-ish. And I think the fact that if Zemo's now in the raft under the control, being watched by Senator Ross, and then this Madam Hydra is going round trying to recruit, because that's what she was doing. She was trying to recruit John Walker, wasn't she, at the end of the day? I think maybe it is Senator Ross putting together a team, and that he is putting together his team of Thunderbolts, and he wants, because in one of the iterations in the comics, I don't know whether it's every single one, but they are just parallels of the Avengers, and at one point they all in the comics take on so they are the Avengers. So there's a Wolverine, but it's not Logan, it's his son. And then there's a Spider-Man, but it's Venom. It's Matt Gargan as Venom. And there's an Iron Man, but it's Norman Osborn in the Iron Patriot suit. So I wonder whether he's trying to put together his team. So he's going to have his Thunderbolt version of Captain America in John Walker. Who Zemo's would be, I don't know. But we've got the Abomination coming back in She-Hulk as well, and I wonder whether they're then going to drag him in, and that's going to be his team's version of the Hulk.
Yeah, maybe.
Or he in the comics becomes Red Hulk. So I don't know, but I think that's where it's going. So that's my theory regarding that. I think that it's all, we're going to find out, whether we find out before the end of the season or not, or it's something we see later on, is going to be that this team is getting put together. And one other thing, we mentioned that apparently, so it's been reported, Madam Hydra was supposed to be firstly introduced in Black Widow.
Yeah.
We know that Senator Ross is in Black Widow as well.
Oh, okay.
So is that all coming into it? Is that going to be part of it? Will we supposed to get the first little tidbit of information from there? I don't know, but that's my theory. But yeah, so I think we're pretty. Have you got any other theories after you just came up with that random brilliant theory off the top of your head earlier on?
No. I think
good.
I'm all
You're spent.
You're
theory
I'm done.
Yeah, good. I think, mate. I think that's you. You don't have to come up with any theories.
I can rest now. Yeah,
you can rest now. You're done. But yeah, so that's the end of the episode. So if you want to get in touch with us, as we always say, you can go to the website, that's superherothing.com. You can find us on Twitter at superherothing. We're on Facebook. We've had a couple of listeners join the Facebook group, I have noticed, over the last week or so, which is great. Thank you very much for getting involved. And as we've said, if you want to leave a voice message so that we can include it in the episode, either head to the website, that's superherothing.com, or you can go straight to anchor.fm/thatsuperherothing and leave us thoughts, questions, theories in there, and we'll include it in the episode. And then the only thing I'd have to say is, again, thank you very much for listening. There's so many more people listening than we thought would listen to the podcast. We appreciate it massively.
Yeah, thank you guys.
If you do enjoy the podcast, it would mean the world to us if you could leave us a review, preferably a 5-star review, not a bad one, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, because the more reviews we get, the more people get to listen to the podcast, and it'll help us get noticed even more.
Yeah.
But that is it from me. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll speak to you next week. Anthony?
Fab, thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.